I know what your evenings look like. You finish a conversation, walk away, and then spend the next 2 hours replaying every single word you said, wondering if you came across wrong, wondering if they're upset with you, wondering why you can't just let it go like everyone else seems to. You've probably been told to stop overthinking. You've been told to relax, to just make a decision, to stop making everything so complicated. And after hearing that enough times, you started to believe it. You started to believe that the way your mind works is broken. But I am here today to tell you something different. The diagnosis is wrong. You are not broken. You are not weak. And you are certainly not doing something wrong. What you are is someone whose brain is running a more complex program than most. And today, we are going to look at the neuroscience and psychology that proves it. Your brain is not stuck. It is thorough. Let's start with what is actually happening inside your head. Most people make decisions the way they check the weather. A quick glance, good enough, move on. Your brain doesn't work that way. Neuroscientists have identified a network inside the brain called the default mode network, a web of interconnected regions that activates when the mind turns inward. In most people, this network switches on briefly and then quiets down. But in an overthinker's brain, research using fMRI scans shows this network stays highly active, fueling a constant stream of self-referential thoughts like, "What did I do wrong? And why can't I stop?" Now here is what nobody tells you. That same network, the one keeping you up at night, is also the engine behind imagination, empathy, and creative problem solving. You are not stuck. You are running more simulations than everyone else in the room. Think of it like a chess computer. A basic program looks 2 moves ahead. It's fast, it's efficient. But your brain is looking 14 moves ahead. It's calculating outcomes that most people will never even consider. That is not a malfunction. That is a more powerful processor. The problem isn't the processor. The problem is that nobody taught you how to use it. Why your brain does this? 3 real reasons. Psychology has identified 3 specific reasons why some people overthink, and none of them are character flaws. Reason 1. Your brain is wired to anticipate danger. Deep inside your brain sits the amygdala, your emotional alarm system. It scans constantly for threats. When it detects something uncertain, it sends a distress signal to your prefrontal cortex, the part responsible for rational thinking. In a relaxed brain, the prefrontal cortex calms the alarm down. But in an overthinker's brain, that connection has been worn thin by stress and years of high alertness. So the alarm keeps ringing, and your brain keeps trying to think its way to safety. You aren't anxious because something is wrong with you. You are anxious because your brain is doing exactly what it was built to do: protect you. It just hasn't learned yet that the danger has passed. Reason 2, you feel consequences more deeply. Research shows that people prone to overthinking have heightened activity in the medial prefrontal cortex, the area linked to self-referential thought. In plain language, this means your brain doesn't just process events. It processes what those events mean about you, about others, and about the future, all at the same time. When you send a text and don't hear back for 3 hours, a simpler processor shrugs it off. Your brain opens a full investigation. That is not weakness. That is depth. And depth, in the right hands, is extraordinarily powerful. Reason 3. Uncertainty is physically uncomfortable for you. Psychologists have found that the brain can mistakenly believe that more thinking will eventually produce certainty, even in situations that cannot be fully predicted. This creates what researchers call an illusion of control. The mind keeps thinking because it believes that somewhere, just around the next thought, is the answer that will make everything feel safe. It's not a bad strategy. It just has no off switch. The hidden strengths nobody talks about here is where it gets interesting. Because everything we have just described, the deep processing, the consequence awareness, the relentless search for certainty, Those are also the exact ingredients for brilliance. Research published in the journal Personality and Individual Differences found that people who tend to ruminate are often more imaginative and better at divergent thinking. The ability to generate a wide range of ideas from a single starting point. Divergent thinking, that is the engine of every creative breakthrough in human history. Researchers found that a tendency toward worry, one of the most common habits of overthinkers, is correlated with higher verbal intelligence. And studies from King's College London found a direct link between an anxious, overthinking mind and a stronger, more active imagination. Isaac Newton, Charles Darwin, Vincent van Gogh. Researchers point to these figures as examples of overthinkers whose relentless mental churning drove them toward some of the greatest contributions in human history. John Lennon once said that genius is pain. He was not being poetic. He was being accurate. Psychology Today notes that overthinkers share almost identical mental habits with innovators. Both think deeply, revisit problems repeatedly, and resist settling for the first answer they find. The only difference is the direction they point that energy. You already have the engine. You just need to learn to steer it. The cost, and why it's not your fault. Now I want to be honest with you because you deserve honesty more than comfort. Carrying this kind of brain does come at a cost. Continuous analysis drains mental resources. It increases anxiety and decreases focus. Overthinking eventually becomes exhausting. And when you finally shut down, when you cancel plans, go quiet, or stare at the ceiling unable to sleep, that is not you being dramatic. That is your system overloading. Think of it like a high-performance sports car, built for speed, built for precision, built to outperform everything on the road. But if you run it constantly, without rest, without the right fuel, without maintenance, it breaks down faster than the basic model. You are not weak for needing more recovery time than others. You are high-performance hardware in a world that was designed for average load. And here is something important. Overthinking often develops as a protective strategy, often rooted in past experiences of unpredictability, high expectations, or environments where staying alert felt necessary for survival. This means your brain learned to overthink for a reason. It was keeping you safe. It was doing its job, and you have been blaming yourself for it ever since. What this means for you now. So what do you do with all of this? You do not try to silence the mind. That is like trying to stop a river by standing in front of it. Instead, you redirect it. Researchers suggest that overthinkers become most effective when they apply their deep thinking deliberately to important problems, while practicing quicker decisions on things that genuinely don't matter. Label most daily choices as unimportant. Decide fast. Conserve the depth for where it actually counts. You also start telling yourself a different story. Not, I can't stop overthinking, but I have a high-powered mind, and I am learning to drive it. Because the truth is this: the world does not need more people who think less. The world has plenty of those. The world needs people who think carefully. People who notice what others miss. People who feel the consequences of decisions before they are made. That is you. You were never the problem. You were always the solution that hadn't found the right question yet. So the next time your mind starts running its 14-move simulation at 2 in the morning, take a breath. Don't fight it, acknowledge it, and then gently remind yourself of the truth. You are not broken. You are not too much. You are simply a mind that was built for depth in a world that keeps asking for shortcuts.